The story kicks off in the middle of a completely frozen battlefield. Right then, our MC realizes he just took a game, ending hit with zero chance of making a jetaway. The Order's sacred sword is buried deep right in the middle of his chest, completely crushing any hope of making it out in one piece. Riding high on victory, the enemy knights breathe a sigh of relief for finally cornering their main target. After all, our boy is known worldwide as the ultimate Dark Lord of the continent. Absolutely wrecked, the necromancer Archimon tries to stay on his feet, even though he knows he's on his last legs. With no way out, the villain knows full well the Grim Reaper is already breathing down his neck. Soon, his mind drifts back to the 10-year war that devastated the world and ended in an embarrassing defeat. The worst part is knowing his defenses completely crumbled, and this epic fail cost him absolutely everything. And the blame for this whole mess lands right in the lap of the Northern Knights' leader, Burkle. Sword in hand, the blonde knight rubs it in, saying he didn't win this war all by himself. Making the sacrifices clear, the hero points out that a lot of people had to bleed for him to make it this far. Getting straight to the point, the leader calls for peace across the continent and tells the villain to just give up already. Furious at the massive hypocrisy, our necromancer tells the guy to zip it, having exactly zero patience for a morality lesson. Full of spite, he claps back that the knights let their own people get wiped out by a plague, and now they want to play the Char boys. Blinded by rage, the Dark Mage swears to take down every single one of those fake soldiers. Not hiding his grudge one bit, our MC promises to send these hypocrites to the other side with his own 2 hands. Suddenly, a bizarre green aura starts leaking from his busted body, creeping everybody out. Jaws on the floor, the enemies go into total shock, seeing the absolute monster-pulling magic in that condition. Using whatever juice he has left, the sorcerer summons his necromancy, striking terror into the whole squad. But playing it super cool, Burkle raises his voice and orders his troops to fall back before things go south. The knight then brings up the 20 million fallen souls the villain turned into a zombie army to kickstart the war. Scoffing at the situation, our MC flashes a twisted smirk, totally not buying this justice talk. Right then, he claims the blonde dude is just out for pure revenge since his hometown also bit the dust. But the armored hero doesn't even flinch at the taunt, standing firm in his purpose. Focused on the goal, the guy states he stepped onto this battlefield for one single reason. With his blade glowing brighter, Burkle says he fights and sacrifices everything just for the future of the kids. Faced with such a pure answer, our necromancer's body completely freezes for a solid second. That unshakable conviction leaves the villain totally speechless and frozen. Staring into those righteous eyes, the sorcerer sees his own reflection, completely corrupted by darkness. Instantly, the moral gap and the ridiculous difference separating the two enemies becomes crystal clear. Soon, a beam of divine light drops from the clouds, lighting up the battlefield in epic fashion. Bathed in holy light, the hero raises his weapon, carrying the weight of saving the next generation on his shoulders. In one lethal move, the knight wins up the final strike to end the threat once and for all. Surprisingly, the blonde stops the strike mid-air when someone yells out, asking him to wait. Calmly, the man drives his divine sword into the icy ground, completely dropping his guard. Cold and calculated, he stares down the defeated villain and asks if he has any last words before the curtain call. With a creepy smile on his face, our little MC warns him that a necromancer doesn't check out that easily. Suddenly, a blur slices the air at ridiculous speed, sliding clean through the sorcerer's neck. Showing zero mercy, the MC's head gets parted from his body in one flawless strike. To the sound of a freezing puddle, the soldiers shout from the rooftops that the final boss is finally gone. Along with the echoes of victory, the continent's Dark Lord hits the floor, marking the fall of the Shadow Empire. While the crowd goes wild with joy, the villain hears his own body hit the deck and feels his consciousness fading out. Finally, the definitive end of the great necromancer arrives, wrapping up 10 years of intense combat. Out of nowhere, the scene completely shifts to a giant mansion getting hammered by a sinister storm in a distant time. Inside the fancy room, the maids excitedly gossip when they spot a weird movement in the crib. Totally mind blown, the women notice the little newborn's mouth starting to move. All worked up, the staff says good morning to young Master Clean while the baby tries to figure out where the heck he landed. Quick on the draw, one of them grabs a golden portrait of the Duchess and shows it to the little guy, telling him that's his mom. Totally stiff in this fragile body, our MC struggles just to wiggle around in his new tiny form. With a ton of effort, the kid tries to babble something, building up massive suspense in the room. Overcome with emotion, the maids almost cry, thinking the little dude is about to call for his mom for the first time. But completely shattering their expectations, the baby opens his mouth and demands the Guardians of Darkness to appear. Channeling pure final boss energy, the kid barks out dark orders, making the poor girl scream in terror thinking he's the literal devil. In the blink of an eye, 15 years pass and the lightning storm gives way to a brand new era. Now the heavy vibe is gone, and the castle is bathed in peaceful sunshine around a fancy plaza. Fresh water flows from the stone fountain on a day that had everything to be perfectly normal. Blushing hard, the maids gossip non-stop about how handsome the young boss looks today. Totally completely won over by his look, the girls swoon over the kid's white hair and flawless style. While full of swagger, our platinum-haired hero struts by in a suit looking like a literal masterpiece sent by the gods. Melting over the teen's good looks, the staff whispers praises as he walks by. Ignoring all the hype, the boy walks with a face of absolute boredom, just trying to live his life in peace. But out of nowhere, a shadow creeps up behind him with a wet threat ready to strike. With zero warning, some crazy dude dumps a bucket of holy water right on our MC's head, telling the evil spirit to take a hike. Looking super suspicious, the wacky priest named Garrison glares at the kid, claiming he saw the demon's face in him. Seeing the chaos pop off, the maids scatter, running for their lives so they don't get caught in the crossfire. Dripping wet, the annoyed kid asks if the old man isn't tired of this bogus purification talk after all this time. Sticking to his conspiracy theory, the priest swears up and down that Archimonde's soul is still locked inside that body. When the kid swears he isn't the villain, he gets blasted right in the face with a stream of water, no mercy whatsoever. Furious at the disrespect, the platinum-haired boy asks if the old guy has officially crossed the line into madness. Muttering some heavy insults under his breath, the kid turns his back to leave and escape that annoying conversation. But the priest isn't having it and orders the guards to hold the boy down by force. Moving at crazy speed, young Clean runs for his life, swearing he isn't the necromancer just to avoid getting a naked holy water bath. Underwater, his mind travels back in time, remembering the fateful moment he lost his head. Because at the end of the day, our anti-hero knows full well he actually met his maker on that ice and has no clue how he ended up here. Trapped in his memories, the boy is still shocked he got taken out and woke up in a baby's body. The worst part was that his first word as a toddler was a dark spell, which got him locked up in a monastery. Because of that, the little ex-villain ended up crossing paths with a guy claiming to be a priest. Suddenly, a giant, intimidating shadow covered his bedroom door. With a twisted smile, Father Garrison almost calls the kid by his demon name before correcting himself. Showing no pity, the maniac forces the kid to listen to screaming prayers right in his ear all day long. Right after our poor MC gets tossed into a bathtub full of ice and garlic to ward off evil. Crossing every boundary possible, the priest even ties the kid to a cross surrounded by fire in a totally bizarre ritual. Racking up some heavy trauma, the young boy spends his entire childhood begging for an ounce of peace. 5 years later, our hero shows up looking totally dead inside wearing a ridiculous party hat. On the flip side, his personal maid Erin prays with clasped hands for the young boss to grow up healthy. Completely drained, the platinum-haired kid just takes a deep breath, possessing zero patience. Overcome by sudden rage, he rips the hat off his head and throws it on the floor with pure spite. The poor maid almost bursts into tears, revealing she was the one who made the accessory. Realizing he messed up, the kid apologizes instantly for letting his emotions get the best of him. Almost picking the thing up off the floor, he freezes when the girl mentions Father Garrison helped make it. Instantly, a look of profound disgust takes over the ex-sorcerer's face. At that exact moment, the colossal figure of the priest himself pops up at the door. Faking emotion, the brute wipes a fake tear, saying he's touched to see the boy wearing his gift. Without a second thought, our MC rips the hat right down the middle with a cynical smirk on his face. Throwing a massive fit, the priest yells that the evil spirit is back while the kid just demands his dignity returned. Cutting the argument short, the Knight's commander Dunkel walks in asking if the circus is finally over. Calmly, the soldier points out that these demon rumors have been dragging on for over 10 years now. Still grabbing the religious guy's face trying to fight him, the kid hears that even the order has already cleared him. Suddenly, the priest bows to the commander, letting the kid purposefully plant into the floor. The flat on the ground, the platinum-haired boy bowls with rage, seeing the religious nut act all friendly with the superior. Giving an ironic little wave, the big guy says he'll be on his way. But deep down, the ex-villain knows the crazy old man isn't going to get off his back that easily. Poking his head back in, the priest reminds him about Friday's ritual and gets yelled at to get lost. Laughing it off, the priest leaves, leaving our MC breathing heavy from all the stress. Collapsing on the couch, the boy grumbles, totally annoyed with his own luck. Indignant, he wonders if a church member is seriously allowed to torture someone like this. Bringing a small towel, the maid raises the suspicion of whether the young guy actually is the reincarnated demon. Denying it to the grave, the platinum boy swears he just hates hearing that cursed name. On the inside, our MC knows the truth but is fully aware that the divine torture will be way worse if he spills the beans. Ever since he reincarnated, his life has been a surveillance nightmare because of those childhood rumors. Pulling his own hair out of pure stress, he tries to figure out why that priest acts like a literal stalker agent. Curious about the word, the little maid wants to know what the heck being an agent even means. Focusing on the sacred book, the explanation reveals that this is a title given only to the most overpowered guys in the order. Besides the Duke himself, nobody in that entire household would dare go toe-to-toe with that monster in a robe. Amazed by the family's power, the little girl hops around excitedly while the MC just wants to live in peace. Changing the subject, she suddenly asks who was the most powerful Duke in their entire bloodline. Smiling, Commander Dunkel answers straight up that the first leader was the absolute Gilwait. Even when trying to hype up his own dad, the kid just gets a flat no. Getting serious, the boy listens to how the first Duke was simply an unbeatable legend. Hyped up, the maid confirms that the young boss loves that ancestor and is always staring at his portrait. Lost in thought, our ex-villain sits on the couch glued to the painting hanging on the wall. Switching topics, the commander mentions it's been 200 years since the family was founded. Fixing his gaze on the painting, the MC repeats that time frame, feeling the heavy irony. Disbelieving his own fate, he tries to digest the sick joke the universe just played on him. Looking at the family tree from top to bottom, the past comes knocking hard. Right there in the golden frame rests the figure of the first Duke Burkle, the Great Northern Knight. Sweating cold, the boy realizes he was reborn precisely as the direct descendant of the jerk who chopped his head off. At that exact moment, the memories of the armored hero talking about the future rush back into his mind. Reliving his embarrassing end, the image of darkness swallowing everything haunts his thoughts. Waking up with a jump, the platinum boy bolts upright in bed, gasping for air. Alone in the dark room, he tries to calm his nerves after that bizarre nightmare. Wiping his face, the guy mutters about the garbage dream and remembers his true evil title. Digging through the past, the boy admits he lost control and almost wiped out the whole world, culminating in his own demise at the hands of the knight and waking up centuries later in this ridiculous situation. Despite the new life, he sighs, saying he still hasn't gotten used to the white hair. Suddenly, a creepy voice echoes from the door saying the young man talks too much in his sleep. Emerging from the shadows, Father Garrison flashes a psycho smile, asking if he was dreaming about his villain days. Trying to bluff his way out, the MC stutters, claiming it's just fatigue and backs away spooked. Jumping out from the covers, the maid snitches on the boss, saying she heard what he was saying in his sleep. Imitating his shouts of destruction, the little girl adds fuel to the fire while the kid goes into full panic mode. Saving the boy's life, the butler Veerman knocks on the door announcing an event is about to start. With his eyes glowing with holy fire, the priest promises to double the purification time after this slip. Up, slapping his hand over the gossip queen's mouth, the MC gulps, knowing he is totally screwed. Cursing the priest out in his head, the boy leaves his room heading to the event. Footsteps echoing in the hallway, the duo chats about the supposed sword demonstration. Walking through the hall, the butler drops the news that the Duke himself requested the kid's presence. Surprised by the summon, the young guy asks about his dad while the maid locks eyes on a cookie. Scolding the girl's lack of manners, the polite butler snaps the treat in half. Wrapping up the scene, the redhead devours the snack looking like a squirrel under the old man's fond gaze. Totally confused, our MC questions why he was called to the event since his dad has never done this before. Right off the bat, the kid finds out the Branch family folks just set foot in the castle. Deep in thought, the Platinum Boy repeats the term, remembering exactly who this parasite bloodline is. Stepping into the luxury hall, our hero spots the annoying relatives who immediately notice him. With a mocking tone, one of the nobles tells them to call the boy by his demon name, getting laughs from the group. Full of venom, the maternal cousins rub it in his face that the kid rotted away in the monastery. Eyeing the chubby crowd, the MC realizes his northern relatives only came to stuff their faces. Sweeping the room, the ex-villain spots his western cousins, focused on a girl sitting there totally unbothered. Looking majestic, the blonde crosses her legs, flexing major boss energy. Taking in the scene, the Platinum Boy realizes these jerks are still talking trash, thinking they're untouchable. Turning his face with a lethal glare, the kid stares down his arrogant blonde cousin. Firing back instantly, the boy dryly asks where they got the nerve to act so familiar with him. Dropping his friendly act completely, our MC blurts out he doesn't even remember their names and reflects on how far the dukedom has fallen. It quickly becomes obvious that disrespecting a direct heir is the biggest sign of the family's weakness. Out of nowhere, the clash of swords echoes through the hall, cutting the small talk short. Furious, the purple-haired attacker forces his blade against his blonde opponent. Demanding respect, the guy yells at his rival to stop going easy on him in the fight. Cold as ice, Dylan announces the duel is over, but the stubborn opponent Dalton refuses to hold the L. Smiling confidently, the blonde proves why he's the Rainland family's only hope. Recognizing Guy's skill level, our MC admits his older half-brother is a literal sword genius. Trading lightning fast strikes in the center of the arena, the prodigy shows he carries the family's reputation on his back. Fueled by desperation, Dalton charges in with bloodlust, swearing he's going to turn the tables. Activating his magic eye, the ex-necromancer analyzes the family's technique for the first time in this new life. Moving his body with insane grace, the older brother dodges the fatal blow without breaking a sweat. Suddenly, an explosive yellow aura covers the blonde's body in a brutal dash forward. Reading every detail of the movement, the MC manages to see the secrets behind the attack. Capturing the core of the technique, the Platinum Boy figures out how the footwork dictates the rhythm. Along with the burst of speed, the ex-villain understands the exact moment of impact on the ground. Realizing he messed up, the purple-haired guy goes into shock seeing his opponent vanish. Scanning the energy flow, our little MC completely unravels the Bloodline's secret technique. Giving him zero chance to block, Dylan brings down his blade in a devastating strike called Meteor Sword. Calling the match, the ref ends the fight the second the wooden weapon goes flying. Keeping his winner's pose, the brother rubs it in saying he already warned him about the danger. Totally mind-blown, the nobles in the crowd whisper in awe about the legendary strike. Rubbing his glowing eye, the Platinum Boy ignores the politics and feels a weird burning sensation in his vision. Immediately, our MC's name echoes loudly through the hall, grabbing his attention. Walking up to his little bro, Dylan flashes a smile asking how long the kid has been standing there. Joking around, the winner says he would have shown off more if he knew he had a VIP audience. Staring at his perfect brother, the kid just wants to know the real reason this plague of a branch family showed up. Cutting the chatter, an imposing man approaches, congratulating his firstborn. Sporting a light beard, the 7th Duke Heinkel praises his insane mastery over the secret technique. With a quick bow, the heir greets the patriarch while the MC just watches from a distance. Looking deep into the boy's eyes, his dad acknowledges the grind it took to reach that level. Catching on to the dynamic, the ex-villain figures out the firstborn is the old Duke's only source of pride. Sucking up just a bit, Commander Dunkel points out that any knight would embarrass themselves trying to copy that. Trying to stay humble, the prodigy says thanks but gets cut off by his dad's firm voice. Bringing up their glorious past, the old man quotes the founder's rule demanding that their bloodline remain the strongest. Demanding total dedication, the leader tells his son to engrave that lesson, getting a highly energetic yes in return. Shifting focus suddenly, the patriarch's cold stare lands heavily on his youngest kid. Slowly, the Duke's rough hand rests on our hero's head, creating a super tense vibe. Without sugarcoating it, the old man openly drops his disappointment at not sensing a single drop of mana in the boy. Lowering his head, the kid apologizes, knowing that even his dad's anger is gone, replaced entirely by disgust. Trying to smooth things over, the commander excuses it by saying the years wasted in the monastery ruined the boy's development. Spreading the gossip like wildfire, the rat relatives start whispering about the youngest kid being a failure. Taking advantage of the moment, the branch members question the main bloodline's ability to keep their power. Not giving a single crap about the insults, the ex-necromancer focuses all his hate squarely on the legendary hero, the popping up in his memory. The pure words of the first night return to haunt the sorcerer. Clenching his fists, the kid thinks it's the ultimate irony that the guy gave his life for the future of this trash family. Snapping out of his trance, his brother waves goodbye while following their dad down the hall. Not even giving him a second to breathe, the purple-haired loser pops up next to our MC with pure sarcasm. Shaking with anger, the coward tries to step on the magicless kid to make up for his humiliating duel. Spotting the jerk Dalton right away, our MC exposes the guy's dirty secrets with the girls in the back of the hall. Called out in front of everybody, the loser panics while our hero calls him a moron. Going for a blind attack, the guy takes a wrong step when a foot suddenly blocks his path. Losing his balance, the attacker face plants right into the fancy rug thanks to a sneaky trip from the youngest kid. With a bloody nose, the failure foams at the mouth, hearing the MC throw the cold truth right in his face. Sinking to the bottom, the guy fires off that the boy isn't the orphan who never even saw his own mom's face. Slowly turning his neck, the Platinum Boy shoots a look of pure killer instinct. Ignoring the personal hit, the ex-villain gets ticked off at the audacity of these rats challenging the main branch. Activating the hidden power in his eye, the sorcerer questions how such a feared family hit rock bottom like this. Completely disgusted, he can't stomach the fact that the great hero's house turned into this walking joke. Breaking up the mess, the knight's commander steps in, flexing his authority over the attacker. With a brutal tone, the soldier warns he won't let another insult against the young master slide. Getting off the floor, the useless guy calls the MC a coward for hiding behind his bodyguard. Hearing the disrespect, the commander grips his sword hilt, showing his patience is officially gone. Without hesitating, the MC decides to break the silence of the night, calling out for his bodyguard. Dark, isolated spot, the kid casually asks if the soldier has a spare sword on him. Without asking too many questions, Dunkel hands the training weapon over to the kid. The curious, the big guy just asks why the young master needs a blade at this hour of the night. Immediately, the platinum boy swings the sword in the air, trying to mimic his brother's stance and asking about the famous meteor sword. With that, the ex-villain says he has something to test and tells the guy to head back first, while the soldier notices the kid's grip on the weapon. In silence, the knight feels bad inside, knowing the young boy has a body completely empty of mana. It soon becomes obvious that someone without magic energy will never become a real knight. On top of that, the meteor technique was created by the founder himself, and copying it without magic is considered straight up impossible. Suddenly, the sorcerer's purple eye glows intensely, showing that the earlier duel is bizarrely clear in his mind. Instantly, the kid mentally runs through the footwork and the exact moment of impact on the ground. Perfectly, the boy visualizes the arc of the blade and the energy flow of the strike. Insanely enough, our MC's magic eye activates a surreal processing ability. Right then, Dunkel freezes in place, feeling a monstrous aura pop up out of nowhere. Shocked, the soldier's eyes go wide, wondering if that's actually possible. Like lightning, a destructive purple flash rips through the dark, blowing up the giant rock in a split second. Standing in front of the totally pulverized boulder, the kid stays completely still with his sword smoking a sinister vapor. Unable to believe what he just saw, the knight calls out to the young master with a shaky voice. Just as surprised as the guard, our hero gives a nervous smile and whispers in shock that the trick actually worked. Cutting to another scene, the little maid Erin watches something with eyes full of terror. Completely dialed in, Father Garrison lets out a scared mumble at what he's holding. Stuck inside a bucket of boiling water, the platinum boy's head proves his bizarre durability. Impressed, the priest notes the kid has held his breath underwater for over 1 minute, while the maid calls her boss a fish. Desperate for air, the boy yells in annoyance, asking if his next ritual is going to be inside a fish tank. Foaming with rage, the ex-necromancer complains about how long this is taking, while the priest laughs, saying he felt an ominous vibe from his room today. The MC quickly puts together that he got this extended punishment just because of that late night magic in the forest. Suddenly, Dunkel interrupts the yelling, walking into the room holding a mysterious letter. In a rush, the soldier announces that the snob Dalton sent an invite wanting to apologize for the mess at the training grounds. With a towel on his head, the sorcerer finds the attitude switch weird and immediately suspects that trash human being. Reading the scribbled paper, the young master does a quick scan of the contents. Being nosy, the maid slides across the floor and listens as the kid reads that it's just a simple hunting competition. With a calculating look, our hero figures out instantly that his cousin just wanted a lame excuse to lure him outside. Without dragging it out, the platinum boy hands the paper back, saying he has zero reason to turn down the trip. Confident, he throws a side smirk looking toward the back of the room. Leaning against the wall, the training sword sits there, proving the kid has a heavy ace up his sleeve. Remembering the past, he admits he spent the last few days replaying his brother's fight non-stop in his head. Thanks to his special eye, the truth about his new ability finally comes to light. Scary enough, he realized he can perfectly copy any technique he sees just one time in his life. Confirming they're going, Dunkel says he'll prep the carriage for this so-called competition. Out of nowhere, Father Garrison volunteers to tag along, making the kid lose it and ask what kind of joke this is. Without blinking, the priest stares the boy down with a heavy, warning look. In a sinister tone, the religious man explains that he felt a really strong, dark energy this morning. Fulfilling the bad omen, the carriage is already seen cutting through the dirt road heading to the event. Struggling with the ride, poor Erin gets super carsick while the priest tries to calm her down over the bumpy road. Acting rude, the big guy grumbles that he told her not to come and tosses a pillow. Checking out the scenery, the platinum boy comments that the western forest has awful terrain for beginners. Softening his voice, the priest promises the maid she'll feel better once she lies down a bit. Faking emotion, the priest says the young man has grown up a lot, but gets shut down cold by the kid, telling him to just give the girl the pillow already. Turning his face to the window, the MC notices how much the landscape around them has changed. Back in the day, this exact spot was an ice field covered in bodies from the war he himself caused. Recognizing the miracle, the ex-sorcerer admits the hero Burkle really did a solid job cleaning up the continent's mess. Immediately, Dunkel interrupts his thoughts, opening the carriage door and announcing they've arrived. Right off the bat, the Cornwell family's colossal state towers over them, showing off the branch's absurd wealth. Stepping out, the kid confirms if this is actually where that coward Dalton lives. Paying attention to the details, our MC realizes the branch house flexes more luxury than the main headquarters itself. Annoyed, he thinks it's ridiculous how these guys blow so much cash on a pointless event just for kids to get wasted. Flanked by monstrous hunting dogs, Dalton shows up with an arrogant smirk, asking what his cousin is staring at. Flexing without shame, the little villain reveals the mansion was built entirely with money leached off the main bloodline. Starving, the dogs look terrifying while the noble mocks the years the hero spent locked in the monastery, thinking he's useless. Ignoring the insults, the Platinum Boy focuses on the skinny dogs and asks what kind of hunt turns into a chat session. With a sadistic smile, the cousin says he set everything up precisely because he knew the kid was impatient. Acting cynical, the jerk dramatically opens his hand and tells the MC to pay close attention. Ready for some evil, the noble declares the event has started, keeping a tight grip on the pack's leashes. Sadistic as ever, the little villain reveals he scattered pieces of raw meat all over the mountain slope. Desperate for food, the dogs bolt into the forest, using a sense of smell 100,000 times better than a human's. Prepping his bow, the host explains that the crazed beasts just became the real targets of the game. With zero mercy, the coward fires arrows, hitting the dogs right in the back. Totally unhinged, the purple-haired kid celebrates the sick hunt with exaggerated laughs. Walking closer to her boss, little Erin accidentally catches the psycho's attention. Spotting the target, the cousin places a heavy hand on the girl's head with cruel intentions. Full of disgust, he says he doesn't get why the MC drags such weak trash around with him everywhere. Roughly, he yanks the kid's arm, digging his fingers in just to scare the poor girl. Instantly, the MC's hand clamps down on the attacker's wrist with brutal force, demanding he let go. Pure hate in his eyes, the Platinum Boy warns he'll snap the snob's arm if he doesn't obey right that second. Using crushing pressure, our hero makes the coward drop the girl in pure shock, feeling the weight of a true monster's strength. Furious at the threat, the rich purple-haired kid slaps the MC's hand away, telling him to stop acting tough. With a crazy laugh, Dalton challenges the Platinum Boy to follow him. Even with the bodyguard's warnings about danger, our kid already hops on a horse, ready to chase him down. Pulling a scroll from his pocket, the soldier tries to tag along to protect the young master. The shot quickly focuses on a magical signal scroll that works without needing mana. Right then, our little MC warns that the crazy priest followed them. And if he disappears, it's because things went south. He quickly explains the plan, telling him to rip the paper if anything goes wrong to activate a warning seal on his hand. Locked into the mission, the knight takes the order while the boy takes off on his horse. Riding through the dark woods, the ex-villain knows the coward couldn't have gone too far. Up ahead, he notices something sketchy on the path. Holding a blood-stained sword, the nasty cousin mocks him, asking if the kid took too long surrounded by dead beasts. Hopping off, the Platinum Boy drops the heat, asking what the joke is this time. With killer intent in his eyes, the kid shows zero fear of the trap. Full of swagger, the little villain announces that this is the grand finale of the hunting competition. Straight up, Dalton declares the final prey of the day is going to be his own cousin. Showing no pity, the jerk plans to rip the MC's head off to throw it at his older brother's feet. Talking trash, the purple-haired guy calls the main bloodline an empty, powerless joke. With a snap of his fingers, a squad of mercenaries steps out of the shadows, and the villain guarantees there's no way out. Laughing it up, the goons celebrate, saying the dukedom already belongs to the Branch family anyway. With crossbows loaded, the shooters tell the kid to curse the day he was born into this trash family. Heavy sigh, the ex-necromancer just agrees, letting out a quiet yes. Thinking he already won, Dalton laughs, imagining tomorrow's gossip about the Sword family falling from grace. Yelling out loud, the coward says the young master is gonna perish like dog food. Immediately, the memory of the hero who took him out flashes in the MC's mind, talking about the kid's future. An insane, terrifying laugh escapes our hero's throat. Confused by the bizarre reaction, the little villain takes a step back, asking if the kid has completely lost his mind. Covering his face to hold back the laughter, the Platinum Boy realizes the sick irony of the situation. Half human and half legend of the past, his gaze shifts, revealing the true face of the demon. Consumed by fury, he throws it in their face that the dukedom was built at the cost of his own life, and now these rats dare to mock it. Suddenly, a sinister green energy starts leaking from his body, tearing through the air. Shocked by the phenomenon, Dalton stutters, asking how the kid is using magic if he was born with zero mana. His colossal aura distorts everything as the boy immediately corrects him, revealing its pure demonic energy. Panicking, the goons try to shield themselves from the crazy wind, having no clue what kind of monster this is. Spooked, the cousin's eyes go wide as he processes the words demonic energy. With a devilish smile, the sorcerer starts chanting the forbidden spell, calling upon the ancient spirits. In the midst of the chaos, the summon promises to bring the fallen back to the light. Like a total nightmare, skeletons engulfed in green flames start forming, starving to devour everything. Terrified, the coward screams in panic, swearing this can't be real. Surrounded by an army of giant bones, the Platinum Boy fully embraces his identity as the feared Archimonde. With a macabre smile, he gives the final order, telling his undead squad to feast on all the enemies. Inside his own head, the narrator recalls that a long 200 years have passed since the Great War. Back in the day, the sorcerer used to walk through seas of bodies during those distant times. Even after centuries, the feeling of souls overlapping in the dark stays fresh. Trapped in the darkness, the voices of the fallen never stopped calling out for their true master. Along with the memory, the sorcerer savors the resonance of his past coming back full force. Deep in his chest, he feels the dark nostalgia take over every single vein. Almost having a heart attack, the mercenary leader yells that the whole situation is ridiculous and impossible. Faced with the macabre troops, terror grips the camp while the necromancer's name is shouted out loud. Not denying his roots, the kid proudly confirms they used to call him by that legendary title. Whispering among themselves, the goons wonder if the demon legend wasn't just a bedtime story after all. Even though he's terrified, the little villain tries to hide his fear by trashing the monster's looks. Mocking them, the mercenaries point at the skulls, calling the army a pile of bones. Downplaying the threat, Dalton claims his cousin put on this whole show just to summon garbage. Finding some fake courage, the purple-haired guy brags he's crushed hundreds of skeletons on missions, though he finds their black color weird. Not caring about the difference, the bunch of idiots agree to take a bone home as a souvenir and burst out laughing. Under the leader's orders, the mercenaries focus on taking down the frontline monsters to clear the path. Quickly, the shooters ready their crossbows, aiming right at the MC's defense line. Totally chill, the Platinum Boy just stands there behind his personal guard while the crossbows get loaded. Yelling fire, the shooters unleash a massive rain of arrows all at once. Flying through the air, the lethal volley drops down hard to turn the kid into Swiss cheese. Hallucinating a win, Dalton celebrates early, swearing his little cousin just turned into meat paste. But a second later, the coward's smile vanishes, replaced by a look of absolute shock. Instantly, the black skeletons link their bodies together, forming a colossal, impenetrable shield. Cold and calculating, the ex-sorcerer realizes that in 200 years, people forgot exactly who these monsters were. Caught in total shock, the mercenaries freak out seeing the creatures conjure shields out of thin air. Super calm, the young master mentions it would make sense to underestimate his troops if they were just regular skeletons. With that dark smile, he drops the fact that his soldiers are on a whole other level. Looking back at the old hero, our MC mentally asks the legend to watch the show up close. Wasting no time, the monsters break the barrier, unleashing the first defensive formation. Full of spite, he warns that the rats who mock the future protected by the Northern Night are gonna pay a heavy price. With a violent clench of his hand, the order for a direct strike is screamed across the battlefield. Moving at insane speeds, the creatures dash forward, tearing up the ground heading straight for the shooters. The preppy kid stutters, unable to process the squad's crazy agility. In total shock, one of the goons cries in panic, realizing the skeletons are sprinting like track stars. Overwhelmed by sheer fear, Dalton begs his team to hold the line right as the deadly impact hits. Slashing and tearing everything in their path, the Bone Squad turns the enemy camp into a total massacre. Keeping his cool, the young master gives the order for the second crossbow unit to surround the area. Hiding in the tree branches, the monsters aim straight at the heads of the terrified mercenaries. Prepping their weapons, the creatures just wait for the command to unleash a rain of arrows. Screaming in panic, the goons notice the long-range attack and try to run for their lives. But it was way too late to run when the projectiles pierce right through the idiots' chests with zero mercy. With deadly precision, one of the shots goes straight through a soldier's skull, taking him out instantly. In a pure act of desperation, Dalton manages to slice one of the monsters in half with his sword. Sweating cold, the coward realizes those age-old beasts have absolutely nothing to do with the slow creatures he knew. Switching up the tactic, the preppy guy yells for the crew to drop the bows and go straight into close combat. Furious, he notices nobody is paying attention to his orders in the middle of that bloody mess. Gripping his blade tight, the little villain forces a sadistic smile, thinking he still has a shot. Cursing out the undead, he charges in, slashing the air with heavy strikes. Convinced he found their weak spot, the jerk celebrates a direct hit to the beast's head. Tumbling backward, the bony body crashes into the ground, looking completely defeated. Panting hard, the guy finds the situation weird, since the monster keeps twitching even after losing its head. Laughing at the guy's ignorance, the ex-necromancer just watches his cousin's pure stupidity. Bizarrely, the creature grabs its own fallen head and slaps it right back onto its neck. Cracking its bones, the Dark Soldier regenerates, proving exactly why the demon ruled the continent in the past. Jaw on the floor, Dalton short-circuits, seeing that being summoned by dark magic are pretty much immortal. With its eyes glowing with flames, the beast waits for the master's next tactical order. Completely terrified, the goons lose all hope facing that unbeatable army. Walking among his subjects, the Platinum Boy sets the pace of the carnage. Testing his own limits, the MC realizes that in this weak body, he can only keep exactly 11 soldiers active. Pushing some psychological terror, he mockingly asks if their little hunting game is going to continue. Suddenly, the scene cuts to a loud laugh echoing near the castle's fountain. Sitting right there, the gossiping priest shares old monastery stories with the curious little maid. Cracking up, the raidhead finds her boss's past hilarious while the priest keeps his cool pose. Noticing her affection, the massive religious guy points out how attached the girl is to the MC. Puffing her cheeks, the little brat answers that it's the most obvious thing in the world. Soon, her memories show the kid acting like a human shield and telling someone to stop hurting her. Shaking with fear, some random bully cries on the ground after getting a solid lesson taught to him. Beating the absolute crap out of the attacker, the Platinum Boy defended the maid's honor without a second thought. Despite the mess, the girl ignores the violence and only remembers the cookies he used to share. Driven by pure innocence, she swears up and down that the ex-sorcerer is the kindest soul in the universe. Cutting back to the forest, the boy's cold blood-stained look proves the exact opposite. Slicing up the enemies with zero mercy, the undead squad turns the scene into an absolute slaughterhouse. Blocking a heavy attack, the preppy cousin grinds his teeth, feeling his arm ache. Using all the strength he has left, the guy fights back, launching the creature away with a spinning strike. Boiling with rage, the coward figures out he needs to stop the monster's freaky regeneration. Locking onto the puppet master, the jerk aims straight at the MC standing way back. In a risky jump, the little villain ignores the soldiers and charges straight at the main target. Screaming his cousin's name, Dalton brings down his blade with pure killer intent. Losing his mind, he yells that without the master, the spell breaks instantly. Unleashing his final burst of rage, the glowing strike cuts through the air straight toward the MC's body. Locking on with his magic eye, the ex-necromancer activates his stolen move, reading ability. Gripping the hilt of his own sword, a purple aura wraps around the training weapon. Copying the perfect stance, he gets ready to unleash the family's ultimate technique he recorded earlier. Recognizing his older brother's style, the cousin goes into absolute shock. Crossing the battlefield, the insane impact of the meteor strike clashes with the enemy's weapon. Shattering the cheap blade, the attack lands dead center on the coward's chest, dealing massive damage. Staring down the trash on the ground, the MC coldly announces that judgment has officially begun. Spitting on the grass, the defeated guy struggles to breathe while the sorcerer slowly walks up to him. Reliving his own demise, our MC confirms that taking out the summoner is the fatal flaw of necromancy. Summoning demonic energy in the palm of his hand, he reflects on his dark past. Gripping his sword tight, the irony hits hard as he uses his old rival's technique to protect himself today. Accepting his fate, the kid realizes the executioner's bloodline made him way more overpowered. Flat on the ground, the cousin listens to the monster's rant without understanding a single word. Shaking in pain, the preppy guy tries to question his relative's insanity. Stepping firmly on the loser, the Platinum Boy mentally vows to put in work for his ancestor. Taking control of the situation, he declares he'll rebuild that bankrupt dukedom with his own two hands. Cutting to the next scene, the little villain wakes up groggy in a completely dark and bizarre place. Feeling his arms strapped to the wood, he tries to force his eyes to adjust in the pitch black. Realizing he's screwed, he notices he's tied to a torture chair covered in spikes. Rattling the chains, the guy freaks out, demanding answers from the mysterious figure in the shadows. Revealing his ancient face, the great necromancer announces that this is the afterlife he created himself. Stuttering in pure terror, the coward repeats the demon's name, shrinking back into the chair. Listing the trash bag's crimes, the entity brings up how he abused and took out the hunting dogs. Refreshing the sadist's memory, the visuals show his sick happiness while shooting at the beasts. Screaming like a maniac, the prisoner denies the charges, ordering him to untee the ropes immediately. Stopping his fit mid-way, the coward finally starts putting two and two together. Reliving the impact of the meteor strike, he perfectly remembers his chest getting ripped open by the sword. Checking his own injury-free body, he hears the cold sentence that his life is officially over. Crying in despair, the noble refuses to accept he's gone and demands to be sent back to the real world. Ignoring the loser's tears, the Dark Lord pulls the flames of his soul, kicking off eternal torture. Showing zero mercy, the Bone Squad kicks off a brutal massacre in the camp. Keeping perfect posture, the young master gives the order for the second crossbow unit to attack. Hiding in the branches, the macabre creatures aim straight for the enemy's heads. Crossbows in hand, the soldiers just wait for the command to fire. In a pure panic, the goons spot the trap and try to make a run for it. Quickly, the rain of arrows drops heavy, turning the idiots into Swiss cheese. With insane aim, one of the shots pierces right through a bandit's skull instantly. Fueled by adrenaline, the rich kid manages to slice a skeleton in half with one hit. Sweating and nervous, the coward notices these beasts are way different from regular freaks. Suddenly, the little villain tells the group to drop their bows and go straight into the brawl. Blind with rage, the leader realizes nobody is listening to his orders in that chaos. Gripping his sword, the jerk forces a smile, thinking he still has a chance to win. Consumed by fury, the noble charges, tearing through the wind against the undead. Hitting the weak spot perfectly, the preppy kid celebrates landing a clean headshot on the beast. To his surprise, the macabre body drops into the bushes and looks totally finished. Gasping for air, the villain finds it weird that the headless creature keeps moving. Seeing his cousin's pure stupidity, the ex-necromancer just laughs, enjoying the front row seat. Bizarrely, the freak picks its own head off the ground and calmly snaps it back onto its neck. With a crack of its joints, the soldier regenerates, proving the sheer strength of the ancient demon. Jaw on the floor, the cousin goes into shock, realizing these pests don't go down easy. Magic sparking in its eyes, the beast locks onto the target, ready to strike a lethal blow. Completely terrified, the mercenaries lose every single drop of hope for survival. Super chill in the middle of the mess, the Platinum Boy dictates the absolute rhythm of the slaughter. Thanks to his fragile body, the hero notes that keeping exactly 11 summons is his hard limit. Mocking the situation, the kid asks if their little game is over yet. Right after, a memory cuts through the tension, bringing back the girl's laugh back at the castle. Sitting there, the gossiping priest shares old stories with the little maid. Super excited, the redhead loves hearing about her young boss's embarrassing childhood moments. Because of that massive affection, the big guy mentions how she's always defending her boss. Pouting her face, the little brat fires back that it's the absolute bare minimum she could do. Soon, the memory pulls up the day our little MC acted as a human shield to protect the girl. Thrown to the ground, a bully cries with his face smashed in, and full of pain. With a flawless hit, the Platinum Boy completely wrecked the attacker to keep his friend out of danger. Forgetting the brutality entirely, the girl only focuses on the time he shared his snack cookies. Blinded by innocence, the little one is dead set that the reincarnated sorcerer is the sweetest guy in the universe. But in real life, the kid's dark stare shatters any illusion of him being a good guy. Like a steamroller, the dark troops turn the woods into an absolute slaughterhouse for the nobles. With his guard up, the preppy cousin tanks a heavy hit and almost shatters his teeth. Running on pure instinct, the coward pushes the skeleton back with a powerful spinning strike. Boiling with hate, the jerk decides he has to stop the horde's endless regeneration. Narrowing his eyes, the villain spots the puppet master, standing way in the back with no guard. In a burst of madness, the rich kid ditches his goons and sprints straight for the main target. Practically foaming at the mouth, the preppy guy raises his blade, ready to slice his unarmed relative. Screaming his lungs out, the guy explains that wiping out the summoner turns off all the creatures instantly. Releasing his final rage, the sword comes down, tearing through the air straight for the MC's skull. With his magic eye activated, the ex-villain perfectly reads the hidden movements. Grabbing his training weapon, the purple energy coats the blade that very second. In an exact copy, he prepares to use the forbidden technique he memorized. Faced with his brother's stance, the attacker freezes mid-air, totally consumed by panic. Like a lightning bolt, the famous meteor sword explodes against the villain with devastating force. From the impact, the fancy blade shatters, and the hit tears a massive gash into the preppy kid's torso. Straight up, the sorcerer tells the trash on the ground that the real judgment has just begun. With blood in his mouth, the loser struggles to pull oxygen into his busted lung. In a flash from the past, our MC remembers he lost his life to this exact same weakness. Magic glowing in his hand, the Dark Lord misses his absolute limitless power. In an ironic twist of fate, the very family skill that took him out is now protecting him. Fully aware of the karma, the kid realizes his rival's strength only beefed up his own arsenal. Tossed in the mud, the loser has absolutely no idea what the guy's monologue even means. Scared, the rich kid stutters, demanding to know what that crazy talk is all about. Ignoring the rat, the hero promises that his fallen ancestor is going to get a front row seat to this. With pure conviction, our MC vows to rebuild the House of the Sword right from the ground up. Declaring the end of the sinners, the priest steps up with clenched fists radiating pure light. With a sick glow in his eye, the psycho tells the enemies to beg for mercy. Announcing a baptism by fire, the priest obliterates the goons' heads with massive blasts. Sprinting in absolute panic, the bandits try to run from the violent cleansing of their sins. Stomping hard, the pressure from the hit sinks into the dirt, leaving a dark crater behind. Showing exactly zero compassion, the divine magic blows up several skulls at once in a massive mess. Raising his golden book, the executioner seals the fate of the sinners, serving up final judgment. Completely in disbelief, the gang leader asks what an agent is doing way out in the woods. Walking like an absolute boss over the bodies, the priest spreads an aura of pure terror across the field. Back, the mercenary runs for his life, cursing his client for this epic screw. Picking up the pace, the rat focuses entirely on escaping, thinking this whole thing is absurd. Crushing his hopes, the big guy's heavy hand clamps down on the runner's head mid-air, cold as ice. Screaming in pure agony, the coward cries as the fingers crush his face with insane strength. Wrapping up the horror show, the maniac gives a cold smile, saying he still needs to finish his prayer. Terrified by his final sentence, the coward cries tears of absolute despair. Calling in the power of the light, the priest unleashes a crushing attack with no mercy. Suddenly, our little MC does a quick backstep to dodge the incoming danger. In a creepy turn of events, a severed eye rolls across the grass, stopping right by his shoe. The cold and calculating, the platinum boy stares at the bizarre scene while hearing his name get called out. With just one heavy step, the executioner started walking right toward the kid. Just from the giant's overwhelming presence alone, our boy already starts sweating cold. Totally shell-shocked, the ex-villain realizes dozens of bodies were shredded in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, the brute's bloody hand reaches out, practically grabbing the kid's neck. Gripping the young master's shoulder, the religious man claims he felt the necromancer's energy and rushed over. With a suspicious little smirk, the big guy comments that something is super sketchy about this whole story. Still holding onto the platinum kid tight, the maniac points out that the magic he felt earlier just vanished. Switching his face to a deadly stare, the priest concludes that the spell definitely didn't belong to the defeated trash on the floor. Drowning in tension, our little MC gulps, realizing just how sharp that bastard actually is. Pinned down by the giant hand, our hero knows any slip up will mean he gets sent packing right then and there. Saving everyone's skin, Commander Dunkel pops up on the horizon, galloping at full speed. Panicked, the bodyguard yells out, asking if the boss is okay. Relieved by the save, the kid turns his head, calling out for his rescue. With blood dripping down his head, the reincarnated sorcerer notices that using heavy magic in this weak body came with a hefty price tag. Totally freaked out seeing the injury, the knight lets out a desperate yell. Jumping off his horse, the soldier runs like a madman toward the duo. Full of worry, Dunkel catches the young boss, demanding to know what went down while the kid grumbles that his legs gave out. Panting in pain, the platinum boy hears the soldier ask where his coward cousin went. Cold and straight to the point, the ex-villain mercilessly confesses that he sent his relative packing to the afterlife. Soon, the scene cuts back to the fancy castle, revealing the MC claimed self-defense against an assassination attempt. Exploding with rage, a heavy hand slams against the wooden table demanding explanations. Shaking with anger, Count Delkin yells, completely refusing to believe his kid tried to take out the main heir. Inside a giant courtroom, the furious dad swears the deceased was a loyal, honorable knight. With total ice in his veins, Duke Heinkel holds up a document, telling them to focus on the actual guilty party. Keeping his voice firm, the patriarch defends that his youngest took hours of interrogation without changing a single word of his story. Without pity, he tosses the records onto the table, proving the branch family hired 20 mercenaries for the ambush. Totally cornered, the branch leader sweats cold, mentally cursing out his goons for leaving a paper trail. Panicking, the noble yells that the whole story is absurd since the platinum boy has never touched a sword in his life. Up in the stands, the gossip runs wild, doubting how a magicless loser could have taken down an elite soldier. Thinking only of himself, the branch leader figures out that taking the blame will make him sink right alongside his dead son. Quickly, the snake switches gears and starts attacking our hero's shady character to flip the script. Digging up the past, the old man brings up the late Duchess's reputation and the kid's old rants swearing he was the Demon King. Furious at the disrespect, Patriarch Heinkel tells his rival to wash his mouth out before calling his own blood a liar. Spitting a wild theory, the Count yells that our MC hired hitmen, right before a deep voice interrupts everything. Instantly, the accuser freezes from head to toe, recognizing the owner of that threatening tone. Stepping firmly on the stairs, our boy announces he listened to this freak show quietly until now. Without blinking, the ex-villain plays the Father Garrison card, claiming he only defended himself from undead created by someone else. The rival calls the excuse a blatant lie, while our little MC just flashes an ironic smile. Completely sarcastic, the platinum boy flips the question, asking if the story about him being evil reincarnated is also true. Foaming with rage, the branch noble grinds his teeth while our hero makes a sinister, silent promise. With his eye glowing with pure magic, the kid vows to rebuild the dukedom without letting these rats taint its legacy. Ready to crush the entitled branch family, the little sorcerer gets pulled from his thoughts by firm knocks on the double doors. Magic golden hair steps through the entrance, apologizing for being late to the tense meeting. With a massive presence, Commander Leia makes her grand entrance, shutting the entire room up instantly. Suspicious, the kid finds it weird that this warrior just walked into a closed family trial. Sitting on his throne, Duke Heinkel takes the heat, allowing the blonde to join even though she's from a different clan. Justifying the move, the patriarch explains that the deceased carried out direct missions under her military banner. Right after, the commander takes off her coat, cementing her authority in the room as someone with insane rank. In the blink of an eye, the two lock eyes in a heavy stare, and the warrior immediately drops a wild request. Not beating around the bush, the owner of the sacred spear demands a private chat with our hero, leaving him completely in the dark. Totally lost, the kid questions the choice while his dad gives the green light, as long as they make it quick. Against his will, the MC takes the Duke's order with nowhere to run or make up excuses. Extremely ticked off on the inside, the young master curses the entire night class for always crashing other people's plans. Flipping a mental switch, the little sorcerer realizes this private gossip session might hand him some seriously valuable intel. Walking down the stairs, he figures the blonde must be testing the waters, looking for the family's dirty laundry. Determined down to his last brain cell, the kid walks through the door, promising himself he won't back down from the final goal. Locked in a private hallway, the ex-necromancer plans to use the neighboring clan's influence to push his own agenda. Surprisingly, the warrior's intimidating posture breaks, with a visual detail heavily focusing on her toned legs. Practically rubbing her face against the kid's, the spear owner makes an absurdly weird request, leaving him totally shocked. Face to face with the stunner, the little sorcerer gets tongue-tied, demanding she repeat the crazy thing she just said. Officially, the blonde is the prodigy daughter of one of the top 3 dukedoms and an absolute master with a spear. In past stories, records prove this woman went toe-to-toe with hordes of gross ogres without breaking a sweat. Standing under a rain of giant axes, the commander stayed flawless, facing the danger head-on. Bathed in pure blue energy, the warrior cleared out the western forest in a massive military operation. Dismembering the brutes mid-air, she wrapped up the hunt, securing civil peace all by herself. Packing monstrous power, the beauty carries the weight of entire battalions on her own shoulders. Snapping back to the present, the impatient girl calls the kid out, telling him to pick up the pace in the hallway. Trying to keep up, the kid immediately gets shut down, hearing that they aren't even real family. Digging through his memories, the sorcerer remembers his dad explaining the messy web of noble marriages and finally gets it. Biologically separated by different moms, the blonde makes it crystal clear they're total strangers ready to make a deal. With a single tear falling, the warrior claims that right now, this is just pure personal curiosity. With a quick lunge, the blonde grabs our guy's shirt, giving him a massive jump scare. With her face practically glued to his, the commander drops the question of whether she can touch him. Totally glitched out, the platinum boy repeats the question, not understanding this sudden closeness at all. Way too fast, the spear owner doesn't even wait for an answer, and just grabs the kid's hand. Inspecting his skin closely, the beauty notices his hand is smooth as a baby's, with 0 calluses or scars. Panicking inside, our little MC finds the inspection weird as he listens to her say any trained swordsman has battle marks. Squeezing his fingers directly, the woman claims his tendons don't lie. Straight up, the warrior throws it in his face that the kid has never picked up a weapon in his life. Putting the pieces together, the blonde asks how a rookie managed to completely wipe out Dalton and 20 trained mercenaries. Instantly, the suspicion of a hidden, dark power hangs heavy in the air. With a defensive shove, our sorcerer roughly pushes the commander away. Flashing a cynical smile, the guy mocks her, asking if she also thinks he's the reincarnated demon. From her sharp look, it's obvious this isn't just curiosity, and any hesitation is going to confirm her suspicions. Deciding to play the game, the ex-villain switches to an arrogant stance and drops a bold, "What if I am?" right to her face. With a mocking laugh, the platinum boy totally clowns on her absurd theory. Completely fooled, the woman relaxes her posture, claiming it'd be impossible for a brat to be the Dark Lord. Deeply offended, our MC's eyes go wide hearing the uncalled for insult. Purely indignant, the kid asks her to repeat that, and the warrior confirms the insult without blinking. Showing 0 pity for the guy's self-esteem, the blonde lists off all his physical flaws, guaranteeing he commands absolutely 0 respect. With his pride side stomped on, the old necromancer deflates while listening to a very weird challenge from the girl. Super straightforward, the commander promises to give the boy a kiss if he can prove he can beat a knight. With a blank face, our hero sees absolutely 0 perk in this reward and thinks the deal is completely useless. On the way back to the main hall, the MC racks his brain trying to figure out if that was a bribe or a political play. In one last pause before walking in, the golden-haired woman drops one more warning. In a mysterious tone, she whispers that the real demon would never act like that. Instantly, the duo's footsteps echo through the courtroom while the guards announce their arrival. Looking at the packed crowd, the platinum boy mentally admits he was way too naive, acting like an easy target all these years. Clearly, nobody in there is going to buy the self-defense story coming from the useless, youngest kid of the main family. Sitting on the courtroom throne, Patriarch Heinkel breaks the silence, demanding to know what that secret chat was about. Shocking everyone, the kid firmly draws the sword they confiscated from his dead cousin. With a heavy strike, the young master drives the blade straight into the floor, completely shifting the vibe. Right away, the visual impact of the move leaves the nobles, and even the commander totally speechless. Locking his eyes onto the branch leader, the little sorcerer declares he's gonna prove his innocence the hard way. Having zero patience for red tape, the guy proposes settling the beef the old-school, violent northern way. Dropping the challenge straight up, the ex-necromancer demands an official trial by combat. The entire room erupts into a chaos of whispers and shocked yells at the suicidal idea. Historically, this savage method lets any beef be settled by throwing hands with zero weapon limits. In sweat, the coward count stutters, trying to make up an excuse to dodge the duel. Showing no mercy for the enemy's nerve, the platinum boy points out that even with proof of the ambush, the old man tried to frame him. Even though he couldn't care less about his mom in this new life, he makes it clear that disrespecting the main bloodline crossed the line. Han firmly on the sword hilt, the kid tells the branch patriarchs to make a choice already. Pressured by the judging looks of the nobility, the snake realizes he has nowhere to run. With a booming voice, the Supreme Lord Rubber stamps the clash, validating the northern tradition. Luckily for the scumbag, the judge announces that all evidence of the previous crime is officially thrown out. Seeing a golden opportunity, the preppy old guy immediately regains his posture and mocks the kid's total lack of magic energy. Full of spite, the old man mentions he has the right to send a substitute champion to slice up the here. Completely ice-cold, the little sorcerer tells the guy to go to hell, promising to show him live exactly how he wiped out his son. Falling for the trap, the coward accepts the challenge and sets the bloodbath for exactly 4 days from now. During the agreement, the warrior commander simply analyzes the audacity of the kid planning to use this beef as a stepping stone. Outside, night falls over the mansion, kicking off the crazy plan to revolutionize the dukedom. Inside the private quarters, a scream of absolute denial echoes, shaking the crystal chandeliers. Panicking with worry, the perfect brother goes off on the youngest kid's suicidal stunt. Spelling out the danger, the blonde completely loses it while our hero just scratches his ear, totally bored. After dropping the news that the patriarch gave his blessing, the platinum boy leaves his older brother completely speechless. Trying to play the hero, the swordsman offers to step in as the substitute but gets a flat no right to his face. Justifying it, the sorcerer acknowledges that the main bloodline only stays on top thanks to the talent of their dad and the firstborn. Keeping it real, the ex-villain tells the blonde to wake up to the brutal reality of the nobility. Fact is, fighting in the useless kid's place would just hand the branch rats the perfect excuse to take out the hair for good. Aware of his brother's frustration, the kid guarantees that a bloodbath is the only way to erase his loser reputation. Crossing his arms like a boss, the young master declares he isn't giving up his revenge stage to anybody. Getting emotional, the blonde swordsman remembers the bright day he ran in to meet his newborn baby brother. In his pure memories, the kid's tiny little hand innocently tried to reach for the light from the window. That scene warmed the boy's heart, seeing a literal white-haired angel in the crib. Being stubborn, the blonde rejects the blood differences and cries over losing his little brother to the monastery once before. Acting on pure protective instinct, the soldier grabs our MC's skinny shoulders, trying to shake some sense into him. With a genuine tear slipping out, the older brother begs him to listen. Used to being backstabbed, the Dark Lord's brain glitches, unable to process why someone would show such genuine emotion. Before the family drama goes any further, bodyguard Dunkel kicks the door open, cutting the vibe. With a serious face, the giant knight announces the branch family just picked the executioner for the fight. Curious, the two brothers ask who the threat is, and the name Randall hits like a death sentence. Holding his rap sheet, the guard explains the guy is a former knight kicked out of the order with a terrifying rep. Looking absolutely terrifying, the image of an enraged lion perfectly matches the opponent's savage nature. Far away in a filthy bar, a wooden cup is filled to the brim with some highly questionable booze. Surrounded by knocked-out mercenaries and broken bones, the bald monster chugs his drink, drowning his uncontrollable bloodlust. Swallowing it whole, the bald beast hydrates right under a stuffed lion's head. Smiling like a total sadist, the big guy admits it's been a while since he heard a little kid scream. Right then, a brand new training sword gets handed over to our hero. Handing over the weapon, the bodyguard says he forged the gear exactly how the young master asked. Knowing it's fragile, the platinum kid already knows the steel is going to turn to dust if it clashes with a mana-infused blade. Satisfied with the plan, the little sorcerer announces it's time to move and tells everyone to roll out. Full of swagger, the kid walks with his head held high, ready to face the deadly challenge. Over at the combat arena, the packed crowd starts whispering, blown away by the kid's sheer nerve. Sitting next to the patriarch, the shady count laughs at the youngest kid's audacity to show up in person for his own execution. Dripping with sarcasm, the old man announces his champion is a heavyweight imperial knight and is going to completely wreck the magicless loser. Keeping completely silent, the family leader listens to his rival suggest swapping him out for his older brother. Looking left and right, the MC searches the dirt arena for his opponent. Frustrated by the delay, the ex-villain complains in his head, wondering where the heck the executioner is hiding. Suddenly, a colossal shadow covers the kid's scrawny body, dropping a super heavy vibe. Staring down his target, the monster named Randall shows off his facial scars, confirming the Lord's identity. Caught off guard, the Platinum Kid hears the giant comment that he's way younger than the rumors said. Stretching his thick fingers, the Psycho checks out his skinny arms and pictures the sound of his neck snapping. In the blink of an eye, the kid jumps back at insane speed, leaving the branched goons totally shocked. Laughing it up, the Count celebrates the quick retreat, thinking the main hair is already shaking in his boots. Enjoying the other guy's panic, the brute flashes a huge smile seeing his prey run like a scared little cat. Wiping away a cold sweat, the little sorcerer swears it wasn't fear, just a genuine jump scare from the size of that beast. Immediately, his mind flashes back to the gossiping priest's heavy hand squeezing his shoulder in the past. Cursing the priest out in his head, the young master complains about his cursed trauma from being tortured with holy water. Up in the stands, the warrior commander watches everything looking super bored, while the guard tells them to get back to it. Not buying the excuse, the blonde remembers their crazy bet, promising to pay up with a kiss if the kid actually wins. Focused on the arena dirt, our MC turns his face, knowing he needs to test a theory ASAP. Fake coughing to hide the embarrassment of running away. The kid makes up an excuse, saying his neck's been stiff lately. Remembering that massive hand almost crushing his head, the kid preps himself for what he's actually about to face. Dropping his friendly face, the ex-necromancer goes off, telling the giant pervert not to touch him. Triggered by the insult, the muscular bald guy's face twitches, feeling his blood boil with pure hate. Firing back, the brute hits a nerve about the imperial abandonment, but gives the prey props for having a slick mouth. Raising a heavy fist, the monster brings down the hammer with everything he's got, promising to squeeze out some screams of pain. Brutally, the punch shatters the stone floor, kicking up dust and chunks of dirt everywhere. Completely confused, the giant's eyes go wide when he realizes he just smashed thin air. Lifting his fingers, he notices he only ripped off the kid's suit jacket, letting his target slip away without a scratch. Screaming in the stands, the nobles panic seeing the insane destruction caused by one basic punch. Turning his neck, the ex-knight looks for the main hair through the smoke from the impact. Standing safely out of range, the kid in the dress shirt waits patiently, holding his training sword. Analyzing the brute's strength, the platinum boy sighs, admitting that going head-to-head with this maniac is straight-up suicide. Charging like a freight train, the brute throws his entire weight into a violent attack against the kid. Super worried, his blonde brother points out that even a scratch from that monster will break every bone in the youngest kid's body. Full of anxiety, the firstborn is absolutely sure his little brother is walking straight into his own grave. Remembering last night, the sorcerer rejects his hair brother's help, so he doesn't hand the traitors an excuse to wipe out the pure bloodline. Spinning his steel weapon, the giant goes for a lethal slash, creating a deadly shockwave of wind. Putting all his rage into his arm, the ex-imperial warrior brings the heavy blade down with zero pity. Flicking on his magic eye, the MC tracks the strike and dodges with terrifying agility. Failing miserably, the bald guy's sword hits absolutely nothing, slicing the arena air. Consumed by anger, the big guy chains together a fierce combo to back the little kid into a corner. Jumping backward at crazy speed, the youngster dodges a trail of earth spikes tearing through the ground. Roaring his prey's name, the executioner leaps, aiming a vertical strike right at the kid's head. Deflecting the hit just slightly, the hero slips away while hearing the giant ask if he seriously thinks he can win just by running. Trying to force a mistake, the bald guy asks why the supposedly great necromancer isn't busting out his dark magic. Pressing the attack, the mercenary yells, asking where the famous power of the continent's demon went. Tired of hearing the same garbage, the little sorcerer boils with rage inside, debating whether to just summon the horde and wipe everyone out right there. Spotting an opening, the ex-knight jumps high, ready to slice the kid right down the middle. Watching from afar, the traitor lord sweats cold, thinking his champion is taking it easy on purpose. Completely confused, the shady old guy can't figure out how the brat is surviving this storm of attacks. Suddenly, a Mabra vision takes over, revealing the Grim Reaper's true aura shadowing the kid. Sweating bullets, the branch lord turns to the patriarch, demanding to know why the brute is backing off. Pointing his training weapon, our MC swears up and down he won't use a single drop of dark magic. Overflowing with fake pride, the Platinum Kid claims he carries the blood of the sword and is gonna win using pure physical combat. Hearing that heroic declaration, his distant dad and his fanboy brother go wide-eyed, completely blown away. Buying the act instantly, the entire crowd loses their minds, screaming the youngest kid's name like real fanboys. Seeing the act work flawlessly, the coward Count bites his lips out of sheer anger. Trying to calm himself down, the old man swears to himself that the brat is just running and can't actually handle a real fight. Getting the message, the bald monster channels a massive red aura, coating his blade in pure energy. Knowing the kid has no power, the giant points out that imperial strength comes from burning magic with zero limits. Pushing every fiber of his body, the mercenary's muscles double in size, and his veins pop out ready to burst. In an explosion of insane power, the brute brings down the crimson axe, creating a hurricane of impact. Convinced he's got it in the bag, the executioner roars, sending the main family to hell in one massive strike. Without blinking, the ex-villain's magic eye glows intense purple, mapping out every single particle of that killer energy. The tapping into the core of the strike, the boy decodes the entire technique and his enemy's magic capacity. Projecting the future, the sorcerer sees the exact path of the blades slicing the wind in red streaks. In a sneaky move, the giant reaches out his free hand to squash the little kid like a bug. Screaming at the top of his lungs, the ex-imperial warrior buries his energy blade to end the fight once and for all. With pure brute force, the giant brings the sword down, triggering an explosion of red energy that rips through everything. Kicking up dust from the impact, the brute looks for his target but gets totally confused when he completely vanishes. In shock, the mercenary realizes he escaped and wonders if the kid really read the strike's path that fast. High above the monster's head, our hero appears mid-air, falling with his weapon ready to strike. Cold and calculating, the little sorcerer notes that a body that huge leaves its back completely wide open. Using the famous meteor sword, the kid lands a hit on the giant's back with the lethal purple glow. Totally stunned, the crowd recognizes the family's secret technique, while his blonde brother's jaw hits the floor. Screaming in pain, the bald guy loses it, unable to believe he just took a massive hit to the back. Smirking, the ex-necromancer flexes his magic eye, while the nobles wonder how the heck he pulled that off without mana. Up in the stands, the extras side-eye the warrior commander, looking for some kind of explanation. Completely shocked, the red-eyed blonde can't hide how blown away she is by the scene. Far away, the bodyguard reflects that under normal circumstances, he would have already jumped into the brawl to protect his boss. In a quick flashback, the soldier admits the Duke that acting purely on emotion would just make the family's rep even worse. Worried sick, the knight warned the patriarch that the youngest kid didn't stand a ghost of a chance against an imperial warrior. Calm and collected, the old man explained the boy went out there to defend his late mother's honor. Ridden with guilt, the leader admits he couldn't even save his son from the monastery back in the day. Frowning, the patriarch states that at the end of the day, he can't protect anything, and tells the guard to chill out. Back in the present, the big guy glares at the arena with a solid look, focused entirely on the young master. Dodging lethal strikes, our MC proves he absolutely never steps into a battle to lose. From his VIP throne, his dad watches the kid's every move like a hawk. In theory, the family's sword art is all about minimizing mana drain to survive the brutal cold of the north. On the flip side, the imperial style acts like a lion hunting its prey with pure brute force. A burning energy like crazy, the Empire's playbook focuses on crushing the enemy by dropping all their magic at once. In a quick analogy, the northern technique is like taking down a rabbit the exact second it slips up. Focused on pure accuracy, the art burns as little magic as possible, like an eagle swooping in. With surgical mastery, the attack only drops when the perfect gap opens in the enemy's defense. Gripping his weapon tight, the little sorcerer proves he completely understands the family's lethal core. Even with zero energy, the kid smiles with confidence, guaranteeing his technique makes up for the lack of power. Shaking with hate, the bald mercenary realizes the kid's attack packs more than enough damage to actually hurt him. Grinding his teeth, the executioner calls our hero a rat and promises instant payback. Exploding with rage, the monster unleashes a sea of crimson energy that blankets the entire arena. Yelling like a maniac, the imperial warrior looks like he's about to lose control from all the magic stacked in his body. Feeling the heavy pressure, the stands go into panic mode, recognizing the champion's deadly trump card. Manifesting the image of a demon lion, the technique locks down anyone trying to make a run for it. Totally relaxed in the middle of the storm, the platinum boy just laughs right in the jacked brute's face. Thinking he flipped the script, the giant drops his attack, yelling that the win is already his. Freaking out in the crowd, his blonde brother screams for the youngest to watch out for the impact. In a brutal clash, the heavy blade hits the target, but our M&C blocks it by crossing his training sword. Instantly, the blacksmith's warning hits him, cheap steel turns to dust against pure magic. Exactly as planned, the kid's weapon shatters into 1,000 pieces on impact. Grinning wide, the bald guy celebrates breaking his guard, thinking he finally won the match. Wasting no time, the villain already queues up another lethal strike to slice the unarmed kid in half. But with his magic eye locked on, the ex-necromancer throws a devilish smile, revealing the plan worked perfectly. Like a feather drifting from the sky, the boy's trap is set in complete silence. Repping the imperial style, the giant lion completely misses the incoming danger of being too light on his feet. Coming from above, the predatory eagle's shadow covers the beast completely, ready for the kill. Keeping a tight grip on the broken handle, our hero pulls back what's left of the useless sword. Using the jagged edge, he rips right through the mercenary's chest with a deep, lightning-fast purple slash. Immediately, the giant's hand goes numb, dropping his weapon right into the dirt. Watching the surgical strike, the patriarch raises his voice, calling the match over. Shock waves through the arena, and the shady count gulps hard hearing the official loss. Blown by the scene, the bodyguard admits the kid mastered the technique without an ounce of magic in his body. In a genius move, the boy let his weapon break on purpose just to land a point-blank attack. Cold as ice, the hero turns his back, sealing his absolute victory in front of everybody. Thrashing in the dirt, the mercenary screams in agony while holding the stump of his chopped off arm. Racing against the clock, the medics rush the field to stop the loser from bleeding out. Ignoring the chaos, the platinum boy watches the doctors dump healing light onto the nasty wound. Curious about modern medicine, the kid asks if they can actually glue the arm back on. Disappointed, he finds out magic only seals the cut, and the big guy's gonna need a prosthetic. Grumbling internally about how far behind healing spells are, the kid snaps out of it when his dad calls his name. With a serious face, the patriarch asks if his youngest feels even an ounce of pity for the mess he made. Realizing his massive screw up, the ex-sorcerer sweats cold, noticing he acted way too chill for a normal kid. He grabs his head and fakes a dizzy spell from stress to throw the old man off his trail. Nearby, the traitor count loses his mind, remembering the massive bag he dropped on that useless mercenary. Demanding the bet's payout, the patriarch orders his rival to confess his crimes, but the scumbag refuses, screaming his lungs out. Foaming at the mouth, the coward claims he's already lost his son and the branch family's top fighter. Before he can finish playing the victim, the old man's head goes flying from a clean, violent slash from the boy. Locking his eyes on the dead guy, our MC calls out the traitor's name with absolutely zero emotion. Slowly, the rival leader's headless body crashes down, heavily staining the arena with his blood. Now in the spirit world, the preppy guy's soul notices the cut on his neck and hears his executioner's cold voice. Getting right up in the ghost's face, the little sorcerer commands the sinner to confess everything to the true Lord of the North. In a macabre whisper, the hero demands the soul to hit its knees and beg for divine mercy. Instantly, a dark flame wraps around the spirit, locking in the bastard's endless punishment. Shifting into the legendary form of the Dark Reaper, the necromancer passes judgment on the traitor in the underworld without blinking. Wrapping up the bizarre scene, the ghost screams in pure agony as it gets swallowed by the purple fire of eternal doom. With the traitor's soul in his grip, the executioner announces it's officially time to pay for his sins. Right after, ferocious hounds pop out of the void, growling and ready to bite. Showing no mercy, the dogs attack the ghost under orders to make him listen to the howls of the lives he took. Shaking with terror, Delkin learns that he built this hell himself while he was alive. Screaming in agony, the coward melts away while getting devoured by the exact same dogs he used to abuse. Completely dissolved, the traitor's face turns into a sinister slime right in the middle of eternal torture. Snapping back to reality, the platinum teen takes a deep breath, keeping his usual cool pose. Suddenly, the crazy priest pops up right behind him, giving the kid a massive jump scare. Flashing a cynical smile, our MC says he's gonna reward the bone monster for backing him up in the fight. With a release spell, the sorcerer breaks the skeleton's curse, handing his ally eternal rest. Turning to dust in the wind, the freed soul says thanks, but the kid wonders what the real point of his reincarnation was. Wasting no time, the religious guy mentions he never expected to see the young boss pulling off pure necromancy. Suspicious, the hero wonders if the psycho saw the whole thing and demands to know who he really is. Hiding in the shadows, a mysterious hooded guy tells the kid he doesn't need to know anything. Channeling dark magic, the intruder drops a spell right on top of Dalton's dead body. Instantly, the dead guy's eyes light up with a freaky blue glow. Terrifyingly, the little villain's reanimated corpse starts standing up like a straight-up zombie. The platinum boy recognizes the corpse control art his opponent is using. Smiling sarcastically, the hooded guy claims the deceased shell is going to be super useful. Far away, Erin waves excitedly at bodyguard Dunkel, wanting to spill some gossip from her young boss's childhood. Locked on his mission, the knight brushes the chat off, saying he'll listen to her stories later. Holding the emergency scroll, the soldier tries to figure out why the young guy has something so dangerous on him. Worried about the 3-hour delay, the warrior gets a bad feeling that something terrible went down in the forest. Ready to roll, Dunkel hops on his horse but gets blocked by the Branch family's guards. Looking ticked off, the guys tell him to wait since the tournament is still going on. Checking out the crest on their armor, the blonde realizes these are Dalton's personal escorts. Furious at the blockade, the Rhineland commander threatens to throw hands if they try to stop him. With a dead serious look, he makes it crystal clear he won't hesitate to drop them. Dropping a quick heads up to the maid, the warrior says he's going after the kid right now. He tells Arin to head back to the mansion with the priest ASAP. Spooked, the little girl reveals that the white-haired priest just vanished with a super serious look on his face. Right then, the blonde remembers our MC's warning about the religious guy being highly sketchy. Without a second thought, the knight kicks his horse into gear and takes off toward the danger. Fueled by rage, the soldier bites his glove, realizing the priest's disappearance confirms things are bad. Galloping like crazy, the warrior prays nothing bad happened to the youngest kid. Deep in the woods, our boy complains he's totally out of magic energy and can't bust out any necromancy. Surrounded by reanimated freaks, the sorcerer knows he won't last long while he's completely drained. Charging in as a pack, the zombies get the green light to eliminate the Platinum Boy without mercy. Even though he's weak, the hare mocks his rival, saying he's an idiot for thinking he can wipe him out using his own magic. Clenching his fist hard, the kid activates the glowing moon symbol on his hand. Growling with hunger, the undead sprint at our MC with everything they've got. Flashing a confident smile, the guy announces his enemy just made the biggest mistake of his life. Totally confused, the hooded necromancer can't figure out why the kid has so much swagger right now. Out of nowhere, giant garrison drops from the sky, crushing the creatures with devastating punches. Charging up golden energy, the brute shines bright, getting his light spell ready. Cleansing the area, the divine attack vaporizes the undead horde in a massive explosion. Totally chill, the holy warrior tells the young boss to take a breather since he's safe now. Shaking with fear, the hooded guy demands to know the identity of that monster in a suit. Straight up, the giant reveals he's Garrison, one of the most feared proxies of the Sacred Order. Historically, the proxies are known as the 3 human weapons serving directly under the Pope. As the Empire's ultimate military force, they're the only ones capable of using holy relics. Legends say just one of these warriors hits as hard as an entire fortress. Crushed by the insane pressure, the necromancer tries to back away, trembling with pure terror. With a flawless hit, the priest launches the intruder, completely shattering his defense in one go. Badly hurt, the criminal asks which of the 3 proxies is standing in front of him. Famous for his unbeatable physical strength, the priest tells his young boss not to sweat a thing. With a sharp grin, the giant announces that the cavalry has finally arrived on the battlefield. Heavy footsteps echo on the grass as the robed monster charges the rest of the horde. Brutally, the executioner smashes the zombies and tosses their mangled bodies into the air. Even while growling in pain, the reanimated freaks try to attack but get sliced up instantly. Showing zero mercy, the religious man crushes one of the creature's skulls with his bare hand. Holding up his holy book, the executioner hands down final judgment on the sinners. Eyes sparking with flames, the madman demands the enemies drop to their knees and beg for forgiveness. Delivering a baptism by fire, the priest vaporizes the goons' heads with blasts of light. In total panic, the surviving monsters try to run from the violent cleansing. Stomping hard, the big guy caves in the ground, leaving a dark crater all around him. Without a shred of compassion, his divine magic blows up dozens of goons all at once. Locked on wiping them out, the priest chucks his holy book right at a survivor's face, making blood fly. Absolutely horrified, the hooded necromancer can't believe the destructive power of that warrior. Super casual standing over the bodies, Garrison drops a vibe of pure terror over the forest. Not looking back, the intruder runs for his life, cursing his client for the botched mission. Picking up the pace, the rat tries to disappear, convinced he's gonna slip away from the massacre. In the blink of an eye, the priest's giant hand pops out of nowhere and grabs the runner's head. Screaming in agony, the hooded guy feels his skull get crushed by the executioner's steel fingers. Flashing a cold smile, the maniac tells him he still needs to finish his prayer before sending him to hell. Chilling by the campfire, the bodyguard feels a weird breeze rolling through the night air. With a dead serious look, the Platinum Boy warns that certain things should never be talked about with anyone. Totally confused, Soldier Dunkel stutters, not understanding the sudden vibe shift. Suddenly, a piercing scream from Maid Erin cuts through the silence, making them both jump out of their skin. Far away, an ear-splitting yell echoes across the town roofs under a shadowy fog. Panicking, the locals run through the streets, running from swarms of starving zombies that crash the place. Baring their teeth, the dark creatures rush forward, biting anyone caught lacking. Fast Knight Dunkel jumps into action, slicing up the monsters to clear a path. Shocked by the swarm, the soldier screams for the young master, fearing the absolute worst. With his sword glowing with purple flames, our boy cleanly chops off a zombie's head with a surgical strike. Showing zero panic, the kid turns his face and coldly asks what the guard is doing just standing there. Getting straight to it, the Platinum Boy orders the warrior to go save the townspeople without wasting time. Super grateful for the save, the survivors nervously ask who this white-haired savior is. With no time for thank use, the hero wants to know how long these freaks have been spawning around here. Checking out the bodies on the ground, the sorcerer realizes the spell is identical to the one that hit him in the forest. Trembling with fear, a local reveals it all started 2 months ago after the Count locked down access to the mine. Spilling his guts, the guy drops the bomb that the monsters were actually their own neighbors, leaving our MC totally stunned. Losing it completely, the villager grabs the Platinum Kid's collar, demanding to know if he's actually a Rhineland. Tightening his grip, the guy demands answers while Dunkel steps in, telling him to let the young boss go. Crying angry tears, the villager screams that they begged for help for 2 months and no one ever wrote back. Pointing straight at the dirt, he throws it in his face that the guy who got sliced up a second ago was someone he loved. Sobbing in pain, the man reveals the creature was his own dad, who did nothing but grind day and night in the mine. Desperate, the poor guy asks why the folks at the bottom always have to suffer so much in this world. Right then, the little sorcerer's mind drifts, remembering Archimonde's glorious and bloody past. With his eyes glowing purple, the hero tells the guy to shut it, claiming this mess isn't his fault. Cold as ice, the kid clarifies he wasn't the one turning locals into zombies, and tells him to aim his anger at the actual bad guy. Stepping up to chill everyone out, Dunkel says he'll fix everything, but the Platinum Boy is already firing up a spell in his hand. Using a serious tone, the sorcerer orders the innocent souls who died in endless agony to listen up. Glowing with pure blue energy, the boy promises to light their way while the fallen undead start floating into the air. Hand reached out, the hare sets the terms for their spiritual release. Right in front of everyone, the blue souls of the villagers start rising toward the sky. In the middle of the glow, his dad's ghost drops a thankful smile, leaving a runic message hanging in the air. Giving a silent nod, the Platinum Kid accepts the message, showing massive respect for their pain. Jaw on the floor, Dunkel recognizes the legendary soul resonance technique. Mind blown, the survivors recall that this spell was used 200 years ago to free the dead from the plague. Crying tears of emotion, the son says goodbye to his dad's spirit, who finally gets to rest in peace. Reaching for the sky, the beams of light wash away the darkness of that cursed night. Step by step down the dark road, the duo keeps moving in silence under the cover of night. Based on the locals' directions, our MC knows the straight shot up the mountain goes right to the mine. Not wasting any time, Knight Dunkel asks what the kid was talking about with the spirits before they left. Keeping it vague, the boy replies it wasn't a big deal and quickly brushes off the topic. Pushed by the guard's nosiness, the kid only admits the ghost said thanks for breaking them free. But a second later, the Platinum Boy drops that they also beg for payback against their killers. Dead serious, the soldier repeats the word payback, feeling the heavy vibe of that dark reveal. Spooked by his own suspicions, the warrior remembers the legends of the demon Archimonde and his vow of silence. Gripping his sword tight, the knight decides it's time to clear this story up once and for all. Pointing his blade right at the kid's back, the soldier demands to know exactly who he really is. Jumping back to the past, the warrior's mind remembers when little Cleon first came back to the dukedom. Back then, everyone knew the cursed kid had spent 7 years locked up in a secluded monastery. But the creepiest part about the little guy was his dark, empty stare. A kid showing absolutely zero emotion. Literally on day 1, the nightmare started, with screams echoing through the estate gardens. Freaking out, the maids found a dead cat laid out on the main castle kitchen floor. The very next day, another lifeless feline popped up in the yard, and a third one showed up soon after. Exactly 7 cats were found dead around the castle in totally messed up ways. Full of gossip, the staff whispered that the kid's bloodline was straight up cursed by the demon himself. Totally ignoring the heavy vibe, the little boss spent his days chilling by the window, staring at absolutely nothing. Even knowing the rumors, young Dunkel thought the kid was way too young to be messing with real necromancy. Suddenly, weird footsteps in the hallway catch the knight's attention in the dead of night. Cutting through the pitch black, a mysterious lantern slowly moves through the dark palace. Suspicious, the soldier follows the light and spots little Cleon walking around by himself with nowhere to go. Curious, the warrior wonders where a kid that age would be wandering at stupid hours of the morning. Moving silently, the Platinum Boy keeps walking, holding the metal lantern tight. Tailing his target, Dunkel tracks the kid all the way to a creepy forest on the edge of the property. Swarmed by crows, an abandoned graveyard pops up in the middle of the thick brush, giving off serious chills. Hiding behind the trees, the soldier tries to figure out why the little boss is hanging out where dead people sleep. Blocked by giant tombstones, the warrior decides to creep closer to see what's actually going down. Suddenly, a bright flash startles the knight, who yells for the young master, pulling out his sword in a panic. Blowing the soldier's mind, the little kid was sitting there surrounded by the 7 cats that were supposedly dead. Jaw-dropping, the blonde asks what the heck is going on, and the little sorcerer calmly says he's just holding their funeral. After checking the bodies, the kid explains the animals got wiped out by an infectious disease that doesn't hurt humans. Being careful, the kid warns that he has to bury them all to stop the plague from spreading and keep other animals from digging them up. Worried, Dunkel suggests calling someone else to handle it so the young hare doesn't get his hands dirty. Dead serious, the little guy replies it doesn't matter who does it as long as the job actually gets finished. Snapping back to the present, the knight keeps his sword pointed at the kid's back, demanding the truth about who he is. With a slight tilt of his head, the platinum boy sarcastically asks if the soldier remembers Burkle Rhineland's very first lesson. With pure brute force, the giant brings the sword down, creating an explosion of red energy that rips through everything. Kicking up dust from the impact, the brute looks for his target but gets totally confused when he completely vanishes. In shock, the mercenary realizes he escaped and wonders if the kid really read the strike's path that fast. High above the monster's head, our hero appears mid-air, falling with his weapon ready to strike. Cold and calculating, the little sorcerer notes that a body that huge leaves its back completely wide open. Using the famous meteor sword, the kid lands a hit on the giant's back with a lethal purple glow. Totally stunned, the crowd recognizes the family's secret technique while his blonde brother's jaw hits the floor. Screaming in pain, the bald guy loses it, unable to believe he just took a massive hit to the back. Smirking, the ex-necromancer flexes his magic eye while the nobles wonder how the heck he pulled that off without mana. Up in the stands, the extras sighed, I the warrior commander, looking for some kind of explanation. Completely shocked, the red-eyed blonde can't hide how blown away she is by the scene. Far away, the bodyguard reflects that under normal circumstances, he would have already jumped into the brawl to protect his boss. In a quick flashback, the soldier admits to the Duke that acting purely on emotion would just make the family's rep even worse. Worried sick, the knight warned the patriarch that the youngest kid didn't stand a ghost of a chance against an imperial warrior. Calm and collected, the old man explained the boy went out there to defend his late mother's honor. Ridden with guilt, the leader admits he couldn't even save his son from the monastery back in the day. Frowning, the patriarch states that at the end of the day, he can't protect anything, and tells the guard to chill out. Back in the present, the big guy glares at the arena with a solid look, focused entirely on the young master. Lethal strikes, our MC proves he absolutely never steps into a battle to lose. From his VIP throne, his dad watches the kid's every move like a hawk. In theory, the family's sword art is all about minimizing mana drain to survive the brutal cold of the north. On the flip side, the imperial style acts like a lion hunting its prey with pure brute force. Burning energy like crazy, the Empire's playbook focuses on crushing the enemy by dropping all their magic at once. In a quick analogy, the northern technique is like taking down a rabbit the exact second it slips up. Focused on pure accuracy, the art burns as little magic as possible, like an eagle swooping in. With surgical mastery, the attack only drops when the perfect gap opens in the enemy's defense. Gripping his weapon tight, the little sorcerer proves he completely understands the family's lethal core. Even with zero energy, the kid smiles with confidence, guaranteeing his technique makes up for the lack of power. Shaking with hate, the bald mercenary realizes the kid's attack packs more than enough damage to actually hurt him. Grinding his teeth, the executioner calls our hero a rat and promises instant payback. Exploding with rage, the monster unleashes a sea of crimson energy that blankets the entire arena. Yelling like a maniac, the imperial warrior looks like he's about to lose control from all the magic stacked in his body. Feeling the heavy pressure, the stands go into panic mode, recognizing the champion's deadly trump card. Manifesting the image of a demon lion, the technique shifts and locks down anyone trying to make a run for it. Totally relaxed in the middle of the storm, the platinum boy just laughs right in the jacked brute's face. Thinking he flipped the script, the giant drops his attack, yelling that the win is already his. Freaking out in the crowd, his blonde brother screams for the youngest to watch out for the impact. In a brutal clash, the heavy blade hits the target, but our MC blocks it by crossing his training sword. Instantly, the blacksmith's warning hits him, cheap steel turns to dust against pure magic. Exactly as planned, the kid's weapon shatters into 1,000 pieces on impact. Grinning wide, the bald guy celebrates breaking his guard, thinking he finally won the match. Wasting no time, the villain already cues up another lethal strike to slice the unarmed kid in half. But with his magic eye locked on, the ex-necromancer throws a devilish smile, revealing the plan worked perfectly. Like a feather drifting from the sky, the boy's trap is set in complete silence. Repping the imperial style, the giant lion completely misses the incoming danger of being too light on his feet. Coming from above, the predatory eagle's shadow covers the beast completely, ready for the kill. Keeping a tight grip on the broken handle, our hero pulls back what's left of the useless sword. Using the jagged edge, he rips right through the mercenary's chest with a deep, lightning, fast purple slash. Immediately, the giant's hand goes numb, dropping his weapon right into the dirt. The surgical strike, the patriarch calls it, declaring the end of the combat. Shock waves through the arena, and the shady count gulps, hard hearing the official loss. Mind blown by the scene, the bodyguard admits the kid mastered the technique without an ounce of magic in his body. In a genius move, the boy let his weapon break on purpose just to land a point-blank attack. Cold as ice, the hero turns his back, sealing his absolute victory in front of everybody. Thrashing in the dirt, the mercenary screams in agony while holding the stump of his chopped-off arm. Racing against the clock, the medics rush the field to stop the loser from bleeding out. Ignoring the chaos, the Platinum Boy watches the doctors dump healing light onto the nasty wound. Curious about modern medicine, the kid asks if they can actually glue the arm back on. Disappointed, he finds out magic only seals the cut, and the big guy's gonna need a prosthetic. Grumbling internally about how far behind healing spells are, the kid snaps out of it when his dad calls his name. With a serious face, the patriarch asks if his youngest feels even an ounce of pity for the mess he made. Realizing his massive screw-up, the ex-sorcerer sweats cold, noticing he acted way too chill for a normal kid. Quickly, he grabs his head and fakes a dizzy spell from stress to throw the old man off his trail. Nearby, the traitor count loses his mind, remembering the massive bag he dropped on that useless mercenary. Demanding the bet's payout, the patriarch orders his rival to confess his crimes, but the scumbag refuses, screaming his lungs out. Foaming at the mouth, the coward claims he's already lost his son and the Branch family's top fighter. Before he can finish playing the victim, the old man's head goes flying from a clean, violent slash from the boy. Locking his eyes on the dead guy, our MC calls out the traitor's name with absolutely zero emotion. Slowly, the rival leader's headless body crashes down, heavily staining the arena with his blood. Now in the spirit world, the preppy guy's soul notices the cut on his neck and hears his executioner's cold voice. Getting right up in the ghost's face, the little sorcerer commands the sinner to confess everything to the true Lord of the North. In a macabre whisper, the hero demands the soul to hit its knees and beg for divine mercy. Instantly, a dark flame wraps around the spirit, locking in the bastard's endless punishment. Shifting into the legendary form of the Dark Reaper, the necromancer passes judgment on the traitor in the underworld without blinking. Wrapping up the bizarre scene, the ghost screams in pure agony as it gets swallowed by the purple fire of eternal doom. Curious about the weather, bodyguard Dunkel looks up at the sky but ignores the freezing breeze. With a terrifying stare, the Platinum Boy warns him to never, ever bring up that forbidden topic again. Completely taken off guard, the soldier stutters, unable to process the kid's aggressive reaction. Suddenly, a scream of pure terror from little Aaron breaks the silence of the camp. Far away, a desperate yell echoes across the town rooftops under the shadowy night. In full panic, the locals run through the streets, escaping from starving reanimated monsters. Baring their teeth, the dark creatures rush forward, biting anyone caught lacking. Moving at lightning speed, warrior Dunkel uses his light sword, slicing up the freaks. Worried about his safety, the knight screams for the young boss, fearing the absolute worst. With his blade glowing, the kid cleanly chops a monster down with one perfect strike. Showing zero fear, the boy turns his face and asks what his partner is doing just standing there. Straight up, the Platinum Boy orders the soldier to go save the locals immediately. Facing the villagers, the knight introduces the kid as the alleged heir of the famous Rhianland family. With no time for thank use, the hero wants to know how long these freaks have been spawning around here. Checking out the bodies, our MC realizes the reanimation magic is identical to the one that hit him before. With a shaky voice full of fear, a local reveals it all started 2 months ago after the mine got locked down. In a tragic tone, the guy drops the bomb that the monsters were actually their own neighbors. Losing his mind, the villager grabs the Platinum Kid's shirt, demanding answers super aggressively. Yanking hard, the guy demands the truth, while the knight steps in to break them up. Crying tears of hate, the peasant screams that they begged for help for 2 months straight without getting a single reply from the nobles. Pointing straight at the courtyard, the villager yells that the creature they just took out was someone super close. Sobbing in pain, the man reveals the sliced-up zombie was his own dad, who worked his fingers to the bone. Desperate, the poor guy asks why the folks at the bottom always have to suffer so much in life. Right then, our MC's mind drifts back, remembering Archimonde's glorious and bloody past. With his eyes glowing purple, the kid tells the guy to shut it, having zero patience to take the blame for this. Cold as ice, the Platinum Boy clarifies he didn't turn anyone into a zombie and tells him to aim his anger at the real bad guy. Stepping up to chill everyone out, Dunkel offers to take care of the people, but the kid is already firing up his magic. Using a serious tone, the sorcerer orders the innocent souls who died suffering to listen to him. Glowing with blue energy, the boy promises to light their way while the dead bodies start floating. Reached out, the hare sets the terms for the new spiritual summon. Right in front of everybody, the blue souls of the dead leave their bodies and rise to the skies. In the middle of the spell, his dad's ghost drops a thankful smile, leaving runic marks floating in the air. With a subtle nod, the Platinum Kid accepts the thanks and shows respect for the town's pain. Jaw on the floor, Knight Dunkel recognizes the mystic soul resonance technique. Mind blown, the peasants recall that this spell was used 200 years ago in the north. With tears in his eyes, the young guy says goodbye to his dad's spirit, who finally gets to rest. For the sky, the blue beams cleans that cursed night. Step by step down the dirt road, the duo keeps moving toward the mountain under the starlight. Following the locals' directions, our MC knows the straight path leads right to the mine entrance. Not wasting time, Knight Dunkel asks what the young master was talking about with the ghosts. Keeping it vague, the Platinum Boy brushes it off, pretending it was nothing important. Pressed by the guard's nosiness, the kid only reveals that the ghosts said thanks for breaking them free. But right after that, he confesses that the souls begged for payback against the killer. Dead serious, the warrior repeats the word payback, feeling the dark weight of the path they're on. Disturbed by his own suspicions, the blonde remembers the day he thought the youngest kid was actually the demon reincarnated. Gripping his sword hilt, the soldier decides to clear this story up. Pointing his blade straight at the kid's back, the blonde demands to know his true identity. Jumping back to the past, the guard's mind recalls the very first day he met the young master. Back then, everyone knew the cursed kid spent 7 years locked up in an isolated monastery. But the weirdest part was the dark, empty stare of a kid showing zero human emotion. Literally on his first day back, the terror kicked off with screams echoing through the mansion. Freaking out, the maids found a dead cat laid out right in the middle of the main kitchen. The next day, another lifeless feline popped up in the yard, and one more right after that. In total, exactly 7 cats were found dead around the castle in super creepy ways. Full of gossip, the staff spread rumors that the kid's bloodline carried dark, cursed blood. Totally ignoring the chaos on the estate, the little boss spent his days glued to the window staring at nothing. Even knowing the rumors, young Dunkel thought the boy was way too innocent to pull off real necromancy. Suddenly, weird footsteps in the dark hallway catch the knight's attention. Lighting up the pitch black, a mysterious lantern slowly moves through the middle of the night. Suspicious, the soldier follows the light and sees the little Platinum Boy walking alone in his pajamas. Curious, the hero wonders where a kid would be going at this hour of the night. Moving silently, the kid keeps going, holding the metal lantern tight. Tailing him, Dunkel tracks the boy all the way to the edge of some seriously creepy woods. Surrounded by crows, an abandoned graveyard shows up at the end of the dark trail. Hiding behind the tombstones, the warrior tries to figure out why the little boss is hanging out there. Because of the giant graves, the soldier decides to sneak closer to spy on the scene. Out of nowhere, a bright flash startles the knight, who yells out for the young master, drawing his sword in a panic. Blowing the guard's mind, the kid was sitting on the grass taking care of the 7 felines that looked totally alive again.